everyone, welcome back to My Simple Life. My name is Cara, and this is my amputation journey. This is going to be part one of my recovery. I'm going to be splitting my recovery into two parts. So today I'm going to be talking solely about the physical changes that I've gone through and also dealing with school and WorkSafe with an injury. And then my second video is going to be bit more of an emotional video. It's going to be all of the emotions that I've gone through since this accident. So please stay tuned for that one. Okay, so I have a little notebook with everything written down so I don't forget. So first off, I wanted to start with the physical changes. Now, when this first happened, when the accident first happened, and I came home for the first time, I was very, very drugged. I don't remember much. I know that my parents had come by and they had dropped me off and went to go pick up my prescription. And after that, I just remember falling asleep on the couch. That first week kind of passed by in a blur. I know that some friends visited me and I remember their faces, but I don't have any recollection of any conversations that we had had. I don't remember anything that we spoke of, and as far as I know, I didn't really look the greatest. I was very exhausted, and the meds I was on were quite strong, so I really don't remember much. I just remember pain and sleep. So that first month of the first month of December, I slept a lot. The meds that I were on for pain made me incredibly sleepy, and when your body has an injury like this, your first response in the body is everything goes towards healing this one part that had been injured. So all of my energy was going towards this hand that I had no energy for myself, and that meant just lying on the couch sleeping, which was fine because when I was awake, I was in denial and I hadn't fully thought about the gravity of the situation, and honestly I didn't have to think about the gravity of the situation. I could just sleep it away. That was what I was hoping to do, I guess. So in terms of the physical aspects, after about a week, the cast I had on my arm came off and they decided to rebandage my fingers. So when they had first been bandaged up, they had somewhat of an iodine solution that they put on the fingers and then they put a bandage on it. And this is just to make sure that the bandage doesn't stick to the skin and pull the skin off once removing the bandages, because the skin is very, very tender there. And then they also wrapped it in a couple other layers of bandages, and they had wrapped my 3 fingers together. So when they took the cast off, they also took all of the bandages off and washed my hand and then re-bandaged them with a bandage on each finger. So they bandaged them individually after that. While all of this was going on, I did not look at the hand. I had yet to look at the hand. I didn't want to. I was very much in a state of denial, and I honestly, emotionally, was not ready yet to even look. And that's okay. That is normal, to not want to look at the injury. So I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful to my boyfriend because he has stepped up to the plate since day one. Since this injury has occurred, he's honestly been my rock through all of this. He's the one who would wash and soak and bandage my fingers every single night. He was the one who dealt with my breakdowns, my panic attacks, and my pain. He was doing all of this while working, and I can't thank him enough. So while he was working, he was able to take some time off and look after me, and he was basically my sole caretaker for a lot of this. He would drive me to all of the doctor's appointments, which there were quite a few. He was the one getting all of my medications, and he was the one helping with all the meals, all the cleaning. He took on all of the household duties. And I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for him for that. Now, in terms of my fingers, so I had yet to look, and we had actually planned to go on holiday in December for 2 weeks. So we were lucky enough that we were able to get them wrapped and bandaged the night before we left. Sorry. So with my fingers, we were able to get them bandaged the morning that we were actually going. We were going away for 2 weeks for holidays because it was the Christmas vacation coming up. And so our surgeon was very, very, very lovely. They did not need to do this, but they offered to re-wash and bandage my hands and give us a bunch of, wash solution and gauze and tape so that we could continue bandaging it for ourselves for those 2 weeks. And we also made an appointment with them to come back that first week of January when we were back from holidays. So that morning that we went to get my fingers unbandaged was a bit of an emotional one, and I will kind of elaborate more on that in my second video. But I just want to say that it did cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of panic in me. And because of that, my fingers were healed okay. They were able to be touched. They were able to be washed at this point. Of course, this was with very, very mild soap and very mild water, but I was able to wash them and actually somewhat use them, although they did have to be bandaged still. So because of all of this, I just kind of hid my hand away. And that's kind of what you do when an injury happens. It's our body's natural way of protecting itself. We sort of fold in on ourselves. And I've noticed that my hand always lies like this now, and I always sort of cover it with my right, almost as though I'm shielding it. And I definitely did that a lot throughout the first few weeks of December and the first weeks of the incident. So I had a lot of scarring on it. Everyone who had looked at my hand, which I did not show it to many, but those who had looked and helped me bandage them all said they were healing great. As far as I know, there was scabbing, some blood still there, but it was looking okay. It was looking as good as a healing fingers could look. Also, we didn't understand the damage to my. One other thing is that we had not noticed the damage to the index finger. And we weren't sure whether or not my nail bed had been completely damaged. Of course, in trauma, when the injury first happened, their main goal was preserving length. So they did not want to cut down anything or shave off anything that I may have potentially in the future. So we kind of just bandaged what was there, stitched up what was there, and left it be. And we started to notice this piece of white almost on the very top of the skin of the index finger. I just kept saying it was a scar. I still had not looked, but I assumed it was a scar line, and that's what I was telling everyone. And it wasn't until the healing had further gone on, and if you'd seen my previous video, you may have seen the nail. We actually realized that was actually my index nail. It had been so badly damaged. It's now only growing on an angle on my finger. And when you have a nail bed, no matter how damaged it is, if you still have a nail bed, your nail bed will grow. It will grow in whatever way it can. And so because of this, my nail and my nail bed is seen as more of a hindrance than a help. It's not going to grow back to a viable nail. It's not going to grow back to a viable finger. And because of that, we've actually seen a surgeon, and I am getting it removed. Okay, so that's the physical changes I've gone through so far. Now I kind of want to switch topics and speak a bit about the WorkSafe and school aspect of this. So when this first happened, if you, again, as I mentioned in my previous video, when this injury first occurred, it happened the day I had my first final. I had 3 finals, and I actually had 2 back-to-back, and then I had one that 2 days later, I believe. And so this happened the morning of my final. My final was set for that evening. My university, for the most part, has been absolutely amazing in terms of this injury. We contacted them right away, and we were immediately set in contact with an advisor. She had told all of my professors what had gone on. She basically explained that I would not be in the exams and immediately got me in touch with what I was meant to do. So she sent me a form, and she also sent WorkSafe a form. So WorkSafe has to fill out a form basically explaining the type of injury I had and why I could not go to school. Okay, so now I would like to switch topics a little bit and discuss my university and my work that sort of got impaired with this injury. So first off with university, I don't know if you remember from my previous video, but I did actually have an exam the day that this injury occurred. So I do remember telling the paramedic, and I remember asking him if I would be able to make it to the exam, because for some reason, in my state of shock, that's sort of all I was focused on, and the pain. And I remember him laughing at me and saying that he thinks that I have an excuse. So I was sort of freaking out about school because I had an exam that evening, and in my mind, I still had to write this exam. So my parents were great and actually contacted the school, and I just have to say that for the most part, my university has been absolutely amazing with dealing with this injury. Once they were contacted, we had an advisor put onto us right away. She contacted all of my professors and explained the incident and explained that I would be taking deferred exams. The way my university works is they defer exams for 6 months. So this means that if you have a medical or there's a somewhat injury or somewhat way that you are unable to take an exam, you can take it 6 months later, and you just have a standing deferred on your transcript until those exams take place. So I currently am actually studying for these exams, and I will be taking them at the end of July. Obviously, I'm not in school as right now because I am an English major, and with an English major comes English courses, and that means lots of papers and lots of typing and lots of taking notes. My goal right now is to be able to get back to typing. I really, really want to be able to type again. I need to in order to finish my degree. And that's something that, I just enjoy doing and wouldn't mind doing for a job someday. Okay, so my school also has given me 2 forms. They gave me a form to give to my doctor and a form to give to me. So both of these forms have about the same thing. They're basically to collaborate that, yes, I had an injury, my doctor signed off on this, and I have signed off on this, that with this injury I will not be able to take the exams, and will take them later. I'm just not in a semester as of right now, and that is pretty simple. She said that, I just don't have to sign up for a semester. Apparently many students do this for a variety of reasons, including just wanting to take a semester off. So right now it's sort of as though I'm taking a couple semesters off. Okay, so now I would like to talk about WorkSafe. So because this is an incident that happened at your workplace, WorkSafe is a system put in place in order to protect employees and in order to help employees once an injury has occurred. So the way the system is set up is they actually protect both the employer and the employee. So when an employee gets injured, they can't go and sue the company, but the company can also not go and try and sue the employee. The company also pays taxes to the company also pays taxes to WorkSafe, just monthly, I believe, and those taxes add up and are sort of stipended back to an employee once they're injured. At least I believe that's what happens, but please don't quote me on it. So once this occurred, my work immediately contacted WorkSafe, and they were put in touch through there. WorkSafe sent me letters, and these are about a handful of them. There is a lot of paperwork when it comes to dealing with the government. So this is just a handful of the letters that I have received. Once this happened, I also had never dealt with sort of a government company, and I wasn't sure what to do. My boyfriend is amazing, and he knew that we had to document absolutely everything. So he was wonderful and created this folder for me. So this is my file. This is my injury file. It has absolutely everything in here, including the hospital band I wore the day that I was admitted. So the way WorkSafe works with an injury is you are given, you are paid through WorkSafe. Once you are determined you are no longer able to go back to work because of an injury. So the way they work out this pay is by adding up the previous months that you've worked and looking at how often you worked. They add up the hours, and then they come to an agreement of a number that they send to you. They send everything, every single decision they send to you is put in a letter and sent to you. Any letter that is sent to you is considered a decision that they have made. Because of that, I believe you have 60 days to appeal it, which basically means you are given a representative. They called me, gave me the name of my representative and their number. And this is the representative in charge of my case. So I'm given a claim number. That is what I'm known by, is my claim number. And everything through there, if I don't agree with a decision or I don't agree with something that's gone on, I can phone them and appeal. They also contact me and ask me for, various forms that I need, various prescription medications, stuff like that. WorkSafe is amazing because when you are injured at work, they cover you immediately. They protect you in every way they can. However, it is government. And with government does come some sort of uncomfortable situations. The main one I would say is because an accident like this is so traumatic, I'm already in a very, very vulnerable and emotional state. And when you're in a vulnerable and emotional state, one thing can seem like the biggest thing. And so anytime something went wrong with WorkSafe, anytime I wasn't sure what was going on or we weren't aware of a decision that had been made, I would cry. I would freak out and think, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Why am I made to deal with all of this? And so because of this, I do recommend to anybody dealing with WorkSafe right now, if you have a parent who is able and willing to help you out, as my parents have been, please consider signing over guardianship to them. So what this means is I personally signed guardianship over to my father, and he is now the one that gets all of the calls, all of the emails, all of the letters, and then he sort of gives that to me. So instead of having to deal with all the government jargon, he's able to, sort of pick and choose everything that I need to hear and I need to know, and just tells me the basics of it. He dumbs it down for me, so I don't have to sort of decipher what decisions have been made. Another thing with WorkSafe is it doesn't happen right away. You're not covered overnight. And because of this, a lot of expenses are done out of pocket. So do be prepared for that if you do have an injury with work. They may not be covered right away. That's not to say that you will not eventually be covered and that money will not be paid back. It just means, it takes a while. It's government. It's always going to take a while. They deal with so many cases a day. They can only help so much. And so because of this, we found that we were paying for a lot of prescriptions out of pocket. And anytime you are prescribed something, you have to call your representative and give them the prescription DIN number. Each prescription is given a DIN number, and this is just for them to identify what that medication is. And then they determine whether that medication is deemed necessary or deemed necessary for the injury. So, of course, I'm not going to go and ask them to cover, I'm not going to ask them to cover a vitamin D pill because that's not really necessary to my injury. However, if I need them to cover an anti-anxiety pill, that would be covered because that's considered an uncomfortable situation due to injury, or that's considered covered due to my injury. So once you have, so after 10 weeks, WorkSafe sort of evaluates your case. Their goal is that you should be able to return to work, hopefully by the end of 10 weeks. Again, unfortunately, that's not the case with an injury such as an amputation. That is, of course, going to take a lot longer. And because of that, I have now been sent over to long-term payment. And your long-term payment is calculated due to your 2018 taxes. So I was called by a representative from long-term payments at WorkSafe, and they asked for all of my tax forms, which we faxed in, and they take everything that I made from 2018, and they sort of break that down into monetary chunks, and then they send those monetary chunks to you bi-weekly. So sort of the same as if I was getting paid from work, just not actually going to a physical place and doing that work. Another problem with traumatic injury, such as this, of course, there's going to be the emotional side of things. There's going to be lots of emotions and lots of hardships and traumas that you're going to have to deal with in the future. The initial pain of it is nothing compared to sort of what you have to deal with emotionally in the future. Okay, so the way WorkSafe works in terms of a injury such as this is you are given 5 therapy sessions, and they actually contact a therapist for you. It's normally all covered by WorkSafe, and they just give you the therapist's name, number, and then they contact you as to when the date is. So because of an injury like this, obviously 5 therapy sessions are not enough. With an amputation comes so many emotions and so many different stages of grieving that, of course, 5 therapy sessions is not going to be enough. And my therapist actually knew this, before we'd even talked. So on our first therapy session, which was actually done over the phone because she was away at the time, she already sent in for me to have a psych eval. This first therapy session occurred in December, and she sent in for the psych eval back in December. This takes a lot of time. That's just the way it works with our mental health system. I will say WorkSafe fast tracks these cases as fast as they possibly can. However, unfortunately, just with the way our healthcare system is set up, they're so overloaded at the moment that therapists and psych evals are very far few and in between. And so spacing is really hard to find. So I've actually only had my psych eval about a week ago, and it is now March 5th today. So that just kind of shows you how long it takes in order to get this psych eval. However, I was still getting therapy on top of this. I got my 5 therapy sessions, and because my psych eval had yet to come up at the time, my WorkSafe representative was contacted by my therapist, and they both agreed to give me 5 more sessions. So that would make 10 sessions. This is again seen as an allowance done through WorkSafe, because you do need to have a psych eval just to show sort of everything that's going on, and so they can get a complete history and sort of understand maybe what the timeline will be in terms of my healing. This is just to sort of to get a full comprehensive look at everything that's gone on. And I am deeply, deeply grateful for WorkSafe for everything that they've done. Honestly, I know it can seem hard or troublesome to deal with government companies and government systems, but I will say that WorkSafe has been one of the best government systems to be put in place, and none of this would be able to be possible if it weren't for WorkSafe, and so I am deeply, deeply grateful for them. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to watch the rest of my amputation journey, and stick around for part 2. All right, bye-bye.